Hi, Madonna, Louise, Veronica Ciccone here.
When will you understand that I am a person and not a thing?
Look it up.
Do something else. Do my eyebrows.
Better to say, am I being true to myself? And is this what I want to say? And have I expressed myself the way I want to express myself? I mean, that's what it's all about.
Hi, this is MG Gong, and you're listening to MLVC, the Madonna podcast.
Hey guys, it's Tony, and the island breeze in New York today is not tropical. It's like 90-mile-per-hour winds. It's really scary.
Yeah, it is Mary Poppins, blow those nannies away wind here in New York City. It's crazy. Hey, everybody. This is Stefan. Thanks for joining us for another episode of MLVC, the Madonna podcast, your place for all things Madonna, Louise, Veronica Ciccone. And as you just heard today on the show, we are joined by MG Gong, who, as you all should know as a good Madonna fan, danced in Madonna's Girly Show Tour and
Human
was also
Nature.
in her Human Nature video. So welcome to the show, MG.
Welcome, MG.
Thank you, and hello from Hong Kong.
Oh my God.
How is Hong Kong today?
Hong Kong's good so far, so good.
Yeah,
No
it's
one's on the
a
streets.
little morning.
Yeah, just a nice dose of China.
How's the pandemic been for you? Has it been as
It's been
fun
okay.
as it's been for us here in New York?
It's been crazy times, to be sure.
Yeah.
But I think everyone's managing. Things are slowly getting back to normal here. They just started giving out vaccinations, so
Oh, that's
nice.
great.
we'll
That'll
see
help a
how
lot.
that goes. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think. And I hear things are going close to back to normal, maybe back in New York here around July.
Yeah.
So I think these are all good signs
Yeah.
for everyone moving
Mhm.
forward. So, at least there's a little light at the end of the tunnel.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I was walking around. I was going to the grocery store, my fun event last evening, and
Yeah.
there was, because of all the outdoor dining that we have.
Yeah.
Because of the pandemic, it was
Yeah.
like a party on the street. Like there was just so many people hanging. The weather's finally getting
Yeah.
nice out, and
Yeah.
it was crazy how normal the city felt again. And I was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Well, Hong Kong and China have been a bit more strict on their restrictions during the pandemic.
Mhm.
There was a lot more risk, a lot more consequence, a lot more media attention from around the world, for a variety of reasons,
Yeah.
whether it's the pandemic or politics. So it was sensitive time all around during the pandemic, I think everywhere in the world, for a lot of different reasons. So
Mhm.
it'll be interesting to see how everything moves forward,
Mhm.
including the entertainment business, just the type of content that they're going to put out. What are we going to be focused on these days? And, how are we going to move forward as a society?
Absolutely.
I know. I'm anxious to get back to some sort of in-person live
Yeah.
theater experience or concert experience.
Yeah.
Mostly because I paid a good chunk of change to go see Janet Jackson on tour, and that concert got postponed, and Ticketmaster does not refund the money these days. They're just
Yeah.
like, we'll just hold this for when she goes. And that was like 2020.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Well,
I want to know when I'm
Yeah.
going to be able to go see Janet.
Stefan, there is a small consolation because on her website, you can buy a shirt for the tour that never happened.
Oh, collector's item.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like we should have gotten that for free. Like they should have just sent it to us.
I think it's a great time for everyone. I think really appreciates the arts so much more
Mhm.
now these days,
Mhm.
and I think that the entertainment value or the escape that we can get from live performance, whether it's through Broadway or even going to the movie house,
Mhm.
I think
Mhm.
is so important for people to get back to connected to that humanity type of experience.
Totally.
Yeah.
I went and saw my very first movie. I went to the Angelica movie theater.
What did you see?
I'm fully vaxxed, so I felt, and
Yeah.
we all had to keep our masks on inside, which
Did
is.
you see the Michelle Pfeiffer movie?
No, I went and saw Minari.
Oh,
you did?
So good.
It was so good. I loved it. I was
Well,
bawling.
first
at
of
the
all,
end.
that performance by the grandmother was really
Phenomenal.
outstanding.
Phenomenal.
By the
I'm
way,
so happy she won the
Mhm.
Oscar.
that was one of the most powerful performances, and not really talked about, to be honest. But just when people saw it, it was just, I was like, wow, she could win an Oscar with that.
She does so much with so little. Like her strength
Mhm.
is like just, it's like a halo around her. I loved
Yeah.
it It's amazing.
It's also, I felt she was so natural
Mhm.
that you didn't think she was acting. Like you just felt like that was her, you know?
Yeah.
And, but then, I mean, the whole cast was great too. I mean, Stephen
Yeah.
Yeun was great. And
Yeah.
the woman who played his wife, I'm blanking on her name, but she was wonderful. The child, the little kid
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
played his son. Oh my God, he was amazing.
I think it was important also that Brad Pitt produced that movie.
Yes.
Mhm.
And I really admire his work as a producer.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I think Minari, I know that a lot of people realized that there were such great performances, and this is a really unique movie. And I think that a lot goes towards the filmmaker as well.
Mhm.
And I think that he's actually doing another movie with Brad Pitt's Plan B.
Oh,
I think.
nice.
Good.
And I hope,
Yeah.
because I think that he's a great storyteller.
Mhm. Yeah. So to everyone listening, if you haven't seen Minari, watch Minari because
Yeah,
it
go
was
see it.
amazing.
Yeah.
All right. So before we get started, I want to give MG a proper introduction. So
Yes, please.
brace yourself, okay? MG Gong is an actor, dancer, executive producer, writer, and he's also a martial artist. Madonna fans will know him from dancing alongside Madonna in the iconic Girly Show Tour, which went to every nook and cranny around the world, as well as expressing himself in her acclaimed Human Nature video. In addition to Madonna, he's performed live shows with icons like Selena, Michael Jackson, Janet Jackson, U2, Diana Ross, Celine Dion, Prince, Cheyenne, John Cicala, Whoopi Goldberg, the list goes on. He's been on Broadway and television. You may recognize him as Jia Kinman from the Emmy Award-winning HBO TV drama Oz. He's also had multiple projects with Fu Entertainment as executive producer. He does keynote speaking at media partnerships in China, Paris, the United States, continues to develop his ongoing passion project with the United Nations, a dramatic cultural exchange program with the Outlook of China Culture and Drama Committees based in Beijing. MG also created his own brand of cardio martial arts workout for all the major fitness brands in North America called Rogue HK. So we will definitely talk to him about that. And welcome to the show, MG.
We had to edit that. We had to edit that down, MG. I'm just letting you know. That's a small little version.
You're
Who
what we call a
is that guy?
multi-hyphenate, you know?
Who is that guy? Ask him to leave the room.
Can I just say, when I read that you worked with John Cicada, I immediately had to queue up that first single from John Cicada. And I was like, oh my God, I loved John Cicada. I was in the audience at the Gloria Estefan Coming Out of the Dark tour.
Where she introduced him?
When she introduced John Cicada, because he was a backup singer for her, and he sang that song for the first time. And I was like, oh my God, I loved that song. It's so good.
What story be told is that when I first went on tour with Cheyenne, that was one of the first big out of the country tours that I had done. We rehearsed for the first 4 months in Miami and South Beach, and we were around Gloria Estefan, and John Cicada's record was just coming out at that time.
Oh, nice.
So everyone in the music industry was around everybody at that time, and so we were seeing John just kind of walk into his fame with that outstanding record, by the way. Like when you hear that record, it just takes you to a place, right? And John was such an incredible performer and such an incredible singer. Like I think we saw him sing live just a couple times with Gloria Estefan and Miami Sound Machine, and it was incredible. John performed on Broadway as well.
And as he should. His voice is amazing.
Oh, he was incredible. Incredible.
I was just going to say, you were working with Cheyenne, and I wanted to tell the listeners, for those that don't know, Cheyenne was a huge star, or still is a huge star in Latin America. He was like, to put it into context, he was like Ricky Martin before Ricky Martin.
Yeah.
You know. So what was that like, working in a completely different market?
Well, the story goes like this. When I was asked to come to LA, and I was working with an agent at the time, and I was originally asked to come to audition to go on tour with Michael Jackson. And we were going to go out to do the Dangerous tour.
Oh, wow.
So at that point, so it was like months and months of auditioning, eliminations, and then all of a sudden it came down to, they asked me to get my passport. So I was planning to go on tour with Michael Jackson at the time. But at the very last minute, Michael made a casting change and decided to take his old dancers. And so before that we were going to go on tour, they decided not to take. So then what happened was then the Kenny Ortega, who was also the director, wanted me to do a different tour. And it just so happened Cheyenne at the time was looking for somebody. And that's how I got involved with Cheyenne, just because the Michael Jackson tour didn't work out. And then the Cheyenne tour did. The stipulation to go on tour with Cheyenne was they asked me, do I have a problem being out of the country for, more than a year? And at the time, I had never left the country yet. And so this was going to be my first time. And I said, not a problem. And so I packed the suitcases and I was in Los Angeles, and then all of a sudden I was in Miami. And then we were in South America, Central America, Mexico for the next 16 months.
Wow. On
a tour bus, small 6-person planes. It was from one Bull Stadium to the next.
Oh, I'm sure.
It was such an incredible experience just throughout South America, every city, every bull ring, every concert, the Mexican passion, the Mexican Latin American culture. It was so rich and such a great experience. And I couldn't believe that, I could be doing this. What I was doing, this was my job.
Oh, I kept waiting for the story to you got back home and the local, I was going to say the local government tells you, you weren't supposed to be gone quite so long. And
now I have a feeling that you went back home and then you
went back out.
Yeah.
Well, actually, when I had gotten back, I originally had thought that I was going to put performing on the back burner so I could pursue acting and music. So pursuing, at that point, I had relocated to Los Angeles, and I was thinking, okay, this might be the time for me to pursue what I wanted to do next and the reinvention of what I was going to be as an artist. And so I wasn't thinking about Madonna. I wasn't thinking about anything. And
we don't have that problem on this podcast. We were always thinking about Madonna here.
Yeah, but life was going to change very quickly. But before even I got to Madonna, it was a weird set of circumstances because then I started working with Janet Jackson at the time.
Oh, wow.
And
that was like Velvet Rope era, correct?
It was, Velvet Rope. And I worked with her on that video called If.
Oh my God, of course. Yes.
And
so good.
We did a long version of that video with Dominic Senna, who was the director of the film California. And if you remember the long version, it was like a small movie. It was a short film. And I originally was performing because I was working with Jamie King at the time, who was, at the time, he was just an up-and-coming choreographer who was working with Michael Jackson at the time.
He must have been, like, really young, right?
Yeah. And he was
like high school.
Yeah, but talented, so talented. And so I was originally performing with the group, but then they asked me if I would be interested in doing one of the male leads. And so that's where you see it in the long version of Janet Jackson's If. So when that happened, ironically, I was dating somebody that I was on the Cheyenne tour with. And so I happened to be staying in LA at the time. And she was originally being kind of sought after by Nikki for a possible part on the Girly Show. And
I like this segue. This is good because we were going to segue into how you got involved in the Girly Show. So this perfect. You're right on it.
And I originally didn't want to go
on the Girly Show.
I wasn't interested in auditioning. And my girlfriend at the time actually said to me, well, why don't you go ahead and, they're seeing guys before the girls. Why don't you go ahead and see if you could learn the choreography and come back and teach me? And
how funny.
I said, oh, I can do it. Like, I can do that. I can do that. Right. No pressure. And, I just go in. So I remember I went in that day. And the funny story, I'll tell you a funny story, is I walk in and Christopher Ciccone was there. There was another assistant with an 8mm camera. There was Keith Young, the choreographer, his two assistants, and a couple other like Chris Ciccone friends, because Chris was the director of the Girly Show. So we all were broken up into groups. We all learned the choreography and did the part. I actually got cut. Christopher Ciccone had cut me and said, thank you very much. We won't be seeing you anymore. And I was like, okay. So I started to leave. And as I'm leaving outside, Keith Young, the choreographer, and all the assistants were running outside after me saying, don't go, don't go, don't go. Right. And I said, well, it's no big deal. And they said, no, come back inside, learn more choreography. And so I went back inside, I learned the choreography, and then that was it. And then I went back to the apartment and I started teaching my girlfriend the choreography. All the choreography.
This is good insight. I like the way that you double teamed on this. It was smart, I
really wanted her to get the job. I had no thought in my mind that I was going to be a part of, this project.
And Madonna wasn't at your audition, right? These were like the super preliminary auditions where she's not there.
Yeah, exactly. It's basically
cattle call.
The Olympics of the performers from LA, and then whoever she was seeing outside of LA, in New York or outside of the country. So, I think some people don't realize auditioning for these big tours.
Yeah.
It's like the Olympics of performers.
Did you have a specialty dance? Like, did she have that? Because I know, like, as her touring went on, she eventually had people where it's like, you could do body contortioning, you could do this type of special dancing. Did she have that at Girly Show?
Yes. Well, for myself, I was never, well, here's the other peel of the onion, is that I was never a trained dancer, and I never studied dance. My main skill at the time was martial arts. And that was the first arts that I studied was martial arts. And I think in my practice and my studies of the martial arts, I've always wanted to challenge myself with learning all different styles.
Yeah, because it's movement. It's movement.
Yeah. And so I reached a point where I felt the challenge of, well, how can I learn this style and master this style and pull it off? And so I think this is, when I tell people I didn't really study dance, but that's really true. It's really just, it was just years of martial arts training that somehow I was able to figure it out. And so by the time I got back to my girlfriend's house to teach her the choreography, she actually got a phone call saying that she got a call back. And so I was very happy for her. And then I found out that 2 days later, I got a phone call, and apparently Madonna had seen the 8mm footage from the guy.
Oh, wow.
And asked me to come.
Wow.
And come back.
And so you answer that call.
And so I was like, okay. So I remember my girlfriend being so nervous about to go into probably, as everybody was, probably one of the biggest auditions of their life.
Especially coming off of Blonde Ambition. I mean,
Blonde Ambition was set the benchmark
Sure.
for Madonna live stage shows and concert tours. I think Blonde Ambition was such an incredible show with such incredible talent. I can't tell you the impact that I think that show had made for a lot of people. But by the time, going back to the audition process, the final callback was at Sony Studios in Culver City, and it was only a small group of people. So that she's whittled it down from tens of thousands to like this small group of like, I don't know, I forget how many. And I remember, I know everybody was trying to figure out what they were going to wear. It's Madonna, right?
You're right.
I'm telling you, because at the audition, wow, just the colorful outfits that I was seeing were on display, full display, right? And so I know that everybody was thinking about, what are we going to wear? This is it. I mean,
this is not the time to rock up in a set of slippers and a robe.
Right.
Yeah. This is, go for it. And I remember I ended up, because at that time I had just arrived back from the UK for a couple of weeks, and all of a sudden I was coming back rocking kilts and thermal underwear and combat boots, right? And so I just decided I'd just go as myself. And so I showed up in my kilt, my thermals, my combat boots, my hair was in twist.
I love it.
Just, because I was just come off working with Janet Jackson. And then she had said to the whole crowd, she goes, "Why isn't everyone else wearing a kilt?"
Oh, how funny.
So when I heard that, I said, okay, let me just do my part. I think I got it.
Yeah.
And so I think at that time, everybody was still so nervous. And I remember Jill and Ruthie was still, struggling with the choreography. And I remember like going over to them and really helping them, go through some of the steps, because it was probably one of the most nerve-wracking experiences you could ever imagine. And you got to understand too, the talent that was in the room.
Sure.
Yeah.
We're talking about some of the best talent in the world, and we're talking about pros. And, from Carlton, I mean, if you know anything about Carlton is, he used to dance at Hubbard Street in Chicago.
Yeah.
Very, very good modern contemporary dance company. And you see his presence. You saw him in Blonde Ambition. You see, like, he's a powerhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's Luca. Luca, he was on tour with Whitney Houston. He was on, probably one of the most popular shows in Italy.
Yep.
And, the one thing about all of these people, because you had mentioned before about styles, these people that I was around were so talented that they could do any style.
Yeah.
And I think that's why they were the creme de la creme. And that's why, people loved working with them. I was so lucky to be around so many talented people that were very patient with me.
MG, let me ask you about Carrie-Anne Inaba, who opened the show.
Yeah.
I know that she worked a lot with Tina Landon. Did she work with you on Janet Jackson in the If video?
Yes.
Oh, I knew it. I just
yeah. I love Tina.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Tina is an incredible human being and an incredible choreographer. She's one of the coolest persons I've ever met. So
then Carrie-Anne was also in the tour, and then after the tour was cast, the dancers were cast. How soon after did they tell you that you guys had to shave your heads?
I think that was actually that was asked actually at the auditions.
Oh, okay.
It was like, would you be okay if you shaved your head?
Yeah, and I think that was a way for her to kind of filter people out.
Back then, not everybody was doing that.
Yeah. And
if Madonna asked me to shave my head, I'd shave my head. Like honestly, even if she wasn't asking me to do a job, I think if she just would you shave your head, I'd be like, sure.
Yeah, and at the same time, I think if you really knew about Madonna, you would trust Madonna.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? With whatever vision she's thinking about, it's usually has some purpose and some story attached to it. So they asked that early on, and then the whole Carrie Ann. I was actually we were actually a bit nervous about Carrie Ann doing the poll at first because I think she and we underestimated the height of the poll, because originally she was supposed to do that with no cable, no safety cable, and so we were like, let's think about this. And people don't really understand, even in the cities where we did the show, that sometimes the weather was cold.
Oh. Yeah, Tony, who was it that we had?
It was Carlton.
We've had Carlton. It was Carlton on the show, and he was telling us how cold that pole was and how freezing poor naked Carrie Ann was having to hang up on top of that pole.
Yeah, and and just like the pro that she is, she just took it on and made that opening sequence just a really great eye-opening opening performance.
Yeah, I don't think
I really loved that.
Yeah, I loved it too. I don't think anyone's seen a show open quite that way since.
I don't think the girls and the producers on The View knew that maybe Carrie Ann had done that, right?
I know, right?
So when they did their due diligence, they're like, wait, did someone tell me about this? But it doesn't matter because Carrie Ann looked fabulous.
Amazing.
Oh my God, amazing. Yeah.
There's a reason why everyone had a crush on Carrie Ann at the time.
Well, I mean, not for nothing, but I think a lot of people had a crush on you as well, because you and Carlton got a front and center little dance number with Madonna in Fever. It's quite possibly one of the most vibrant, vivacious, energetic performances from that show.
Literally on fire.
Literally side by side with Madonna. It's a fan favorite. How did you and Carlton get, other than the fact that you looked extremely hot in that number, by the way, FYI.
Yeah, we do.
How did you and Carlton get to be a part of that number?
I think, to be honest, that we all looked the most erotic together. To be honest.
Yeah.
You'd look the best in those tiny little itty bitty shorts.
Yeah. Well, the story behind those itty bitty shorts was, I remember we got called in for a costume fitting, and Dolce & Gabbana were there in town, and we go to the Sony studios, and I remember I walk into the other side of the warehouse, and there's these clothing racks, and all there is this little top and these little bottoms, and I looked around and I said, are they bringing in the costumes? And they said, they're right there. And I had that moment. And I had realized what was about to happen and what they were asking me to do. And so that, I think, ended up being such a really funny moment for me. But I'm so glad that Fever turned out the way it did, to be honest. For me to be on stage with Madonna and Carlton at the same time, just the energy coming from them, their presence, their expression, their performance, their passion. It was a bit intimidating at times, but at the same time, it was so elevating as well.
Sure.
It really pushed me to try to, really be connected to them, be connected to the audience, because when you have you ever felt the 120,000 fans and that energy and that excitement just come at you?
Actually, Stefan has. Go ahead, tell him.
Stop it.
Oh.
I wasn't going to bring it up, Tony, but yeah, no, I got to dance with Madonna during her Rebel Heart tour. I was one of the lucky fans who got pulled up on stage during the run of that show. So yeah, I know what you mean. It's it's one thing to be throwing that energy at her, and it's a whole nother to be getting. It's like a wind of positive. I was so high. For hours after that show. So I hear you.
You really had to, I realized quickly that you really had to really focus, because that emotion, that passion from the crowd, that excitement, that thrill can really, really overwhelm you on stage.
I understand why Madonna likes to keep going on tour, because if that's the gift you get from people being on stage, it's
and she gets so much love from her international fan base. Like even at sound checks, they would come out in full force, and it was almost like us doing 2 concerts, for the fans at times, because we would go through the sound check, which was basically the whole show, prior to the concert, and then we would actually do the concert, But Fever, I was so lucky to do that number with them, and I'm really, like I said, I remember at the end of the tour, we finally looked at what HBO, the concert, was going to look like afterwards.
Right.
And I remember Carlton and I and her, we looked at one another after we saw Fever, and we were like, it was okay. It was okay. It looked good, so Fever was a good number.
Did you have other favorite numbers that you were a part of, or just as a group from the tour?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you a funny story. The other numbers that I liked was Holiday.
Oh yeah,
it's a good version of Holiday too in that one.
Well, I'll tell you a funny story about Holiday.
Okay.
I think we were kind of behind in rehearsals as far as trying to get all the numbers together. And we could sense that Madonna was getting a bit frustrated. So we were going to start to work on Holiday the next day. But I don't think that we all thought that we were ready. So I remember Nikki and Donna were having a music singing rehearsal out at Nikki's house that night. And I had said to Nikki, why don't I come over and we can kind of map out at least some bones for Holiday. So that way we could go in tomorrow and just give Madonna a framework, and, let's all collaborate and fill in the holes. Right. So literally, I think Nikki, Angela, myself, we were up till like 4:30 in the morning out at Nikki's house. Putting the framework of Holiday together. So what you actually see on stage was from that night of being at Nikki's house,
that's so
putting
cool.
that all together.
Like choreography and staging wise?
Oh, nice. The staging, the choreography was from that night out at Nikki's house. And the other number that I probably really enjoyed a lot was La Isla Bonita.
Oh, yeah.
I just think visually on stage, Christopher had done such a masterful job of just using lighting, using the stage and, the sets. It was a really great, I think sometimes when you look at Girly Show now, if you look back on it, it was a really great live concert.
Yeah.
Like not a lot of special effects, but it really felt like a live show.
Well, yeah, that's the thing I sort of love. I use simplicity, not meaning that the tour was simple, but there was no pomp and circumstance. You didn't have background screens. You didn't have pyrotechnics. You didn't have, there was no lifts. There was, things weren't like flying in and out, and it was just people were performing.
It was almost like watching a live stage show. And that goes back also to Blonde Ambition, which kind of set that bar. And so I think that's what I really appreciate about La Isla Bonita, and just doing that dance style, and just having that moment with Madonna on stage. Because, La Isla Bonita is probably one of her biggest hits. Yeah. And I think that's always a fan favorite. And to perform to that live on stage with someone like Madonna was really like an incredible experience.
MG, can you tell us a little bit about, I guess, the inspiration behind some of the choreography, because it was very unique, especially for Madonna. For example, the Eastern choreography for Vogue and The Beast Within, and even Justify My Love, which some people say it's vampires and some people say it's My Fair Lady. So, what can you tell us about that?
My Fair Lady on acid.
Yeah. It's probably a lot more towards that than anything. Wow. Justify My Love, the choreography. I will say this, that the inspiration and the seed of it was, yes, My Fair Lady, mixed in with a little bit of Buto.
Oh, that makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Buto is this Japanese style of modern contemporary dance, which is very deep and very internal. So it was a combination of My Fair Lady mixed in with Japanese contemporary Buto.
MG, I've been trying to figure that out for the last 25 years. Thank you.
Yeah. So with that, I think, that's kind of where that path took. I think what was so interesting about the choreography, I think it was really a great collaboration between everyone, right? But I think that a lot of it was based on her raw emotions, how that body movement can express that honestly for her. And I think that the style of Alex Magno, the style of Keith Young, matched her primal energy at the time, what she felt connected to.
Yeah.
And that raw energy, that raw passion has always been, I think, what has driven her.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And, I Stefan, correct me if I'm wrong. Wouldn't you say that her moment in this life is probably the only time in Madonna's career where she's been alone on stage? You know what I mean? So she took a lot of risks in the Girly Show, and they absolutely paid off.
And I think a lot of her I think she, of course, spiritually is always influenced by Eastern philosophy, religion, and thought. So, using those movements, whether it's the traditional hands in the Indian movements, or Tai Chi movements, or Buto movements, I don't think a lot of people give Madonna enough credit for her understanding of the different styles of movements that she uses in a lot of her numbers, and tries to reinvent those through the inventions of her songs on her tours. Which I think is amazing. What she can do to try to reinvent herself and keep her artistic fires alive.
Sure.
I feel like part of the important legacy of the Girly Show was that, Madonna was showcasing Asian visibility at a time when Asian talent, such as you and Carrie Ann Inaba, would be stereotyped in other production. What can you tell us about the reaction and feedback that you received from the Asian community, or just from anyone after the tour ended? And, people said like, wow, I saw myself on stage. Thank you. It's so powerful.
Yeah, I think the most important thing about that is it really made us look like we're on the same level as everyone else. So we had all equal value, and then some.
Sure.
And I think that's probably the biggest takeaway from the whole thing. And I think that, I can only thank Madonna for allowing that to happen, for putting us in the forefront, understanding what we are to represent. But I think that's also part of Madonna's purpose, is putting those issues out there and putting, diversity out there so that everybody can see their own value.
Yeah.
So, for that, I'm really grateful for her.
Yeah, she's sort of always been championing diversity in whether it be race,
gay rights.
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny to think that like she was fighting for those causes long before it was
long before
it was a hashtag.
Yeah, now it's so expected and so just regular. We forget that she was like, I think Girly Show was shocking back in the day because it was supposedly depicting like a group orgy or whatnot, but it's like she was, also advocating for safe sex and gay rights and women empowerment and racial diversity. And and she's doing it in the guise of a pop show, but like Tony and I have said many times in the podcast, when you see these gay dancers next to her on stage as a closeted gay teen growing up in the suburbs, I think, they're okay because they're dancing with Madonna and she made it seem normal, and which it is. And so that's what I think was what's been great about her.
I really took advantage of every opportunity that I could on that tour. If there was a room I could be in, if I could sing with Donna or Nikki, if I could rehearse with them, do anything, if I could go to see a live show with the band, if I could go see part of a city with some of the performers, there wasn't a door that I wasn't walking through when I was on tour with the Girly Show.
Well, I want to ask you about that because, the Girly Show, famously skipped the U.S. to tour the entire world. It went to places that Madonna had never been to before, and as a result, you were seen by, for example, Australia, and Turkey and Israel. So tell us what it was like to go to these countries and to just feel another culture and another type of fandom.
It was amazing to feel that love and that passion from that fan base was so impressive. Because think about it. This is a girl that came from Detroit, Michigan, with no money to New York City, climbed her way out of just, out of being an artist, and then made success. And all of a sudden she realized she has millions of fans all around the world. And, what people don't know actually is that in a lot of these countries, there was some opposition to her actually being there. Like in Turkey, I remember the media, the news were against something about what Madonna maybe had talked about recently, or what erotica represented as far as a record, what people were perceiving that she was trying to say, and things like that. So, all of these destinations that we went to were incredible, but there were other sides of it that we had to pay attention to because we're dealing with different politics, different cultural people, but at the same time, it was really the music, and Madonna is what was bringing everybody together. And I think a lot of what you saw on stage also had to be a reflection of those fans.
Yeah.
Sure.
So that was also what was so amazing when you look out in that sea of people. It was the sea of really that diversity that she created through her music. So it was amazing to see every night in those countries, especially, these countries English is not their number one language as well. And they are so passionate for Madonna, so passionate. And it was incredible. Just probably my favorite city, I would have to say, was Brazil.
These Brazilians love Madonna.
They are out of control.
I'm surprised they let you guys leave the country.
Well, that was serious at one point because I remember Carlton, myself, Angela, we all went out one night outside of the hotel while we were in Rio. That was a big mistake. That was a big mistake because all of a sudden we hear waves of feet just hitting the street and coming at us like a wave. And we were just like, we got to get out of here. And so then we just jumped in a taxi and we had to get our way out of the city. It was like madness. There are serious Madonna fans out there and it's amazing. It's really amazing.
Oh, yeah.
So should we skip ahead a little, Tony?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's go to 1995, where Madonna released Human Nature as the fourth single from her coveted Bedtime Stories album. You and former guest Luca Tomasini both danced with her in that music video. How did that sort of come about? How did your involvement come to be? And what was it like reteaming with Madonna after a couple of years with good old Luca on a different project?
Remember, Luca choreographed that, right, Stefan?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, here's the funny story. Let me free story that story.
Please.
I had just actually had gone to Madonna's birthday in Miami with Nikki.
Fun.
Before all of this happened. And that's actually how I first heard about the video. Mm-hmm. Right. But I didn't know who was working on it. I just knew it was coming up.
And you're like,
Well, at the time. Yeah. But at the time also, Luca and I were both working with Jamie King. Who was the choreographer for Human Nature. And so we had already been working together with Jamie with Prince at the time.
Nice.
And also Prince had a club in Los Angeles called Glam Slam.
Oh, I remember that place,
Yeah, that we had done some performances at, because we were doing every week doing performances in downtown LA at Prince's club. So that's how we actually started working with Jamie, and then Human Nature came along. But, Luca and I still had to audition. It wasn't going to come that easily, right? But
what kind of audition was that, though? Was that like, okay, here's some rope, let's see what you can do with that, or here, go sit in that box and make it look interesting?
Well, luckily, the rope, the choreography, I'll tell you, the rope wasn't part of the audition process, but the rope was such an incredible collaborative process on how that really worked itself out. It was like, I don't know, S&M on, Twister, something like this every time we would try to work out those formations. And it was such a great experience. It was, when I look back on Human Nature, first of all, it was really incredible to work with John Baptiste Mondina, who was the director.
Such a great video.
His eye and, his just cinematic touch was really incredible. And, when we look at Human Nature now, it's still an iconic video.
Totally. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's beautiful.
At least that's what I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it will always go down as probably one of my favorite Madonna videos.
Do you still have the pleather that you were put in?
I do have.
Oh, do you?
I do have a little bit of that pleather. Yeah. I actually have a little bit of everything somewhere.
Oh, that's good.
You have the little itty bitty shorts from Fever?
I still do.
Nice.
I don't know if I should auction that off.
Well, if you ever need to buy a house, it's all there. So you worked with Luca many times. I was just going to bring up, just for fun, that you were in Sister Act 2 along with Kevin Stay, Sebastian Lacaze, Luca, and of course the lovely Gabriel Trupin, who's no longer with us.
Yeah.
So when you guys all found yourselves in the same room, you had something in common. So
we all got along great.
Yeah, I mean,
we all got along great. I remember I was kind of like the baby of the group at the time. I was like, these were all like Hollywood pros, Kevin, Sebastian, Luca, and we all got along great. That was probably one of the very few times that we all actually got together, to work on the same job, but a different job. It's very rare that, we can do that. And so I was just also very, very grateful to be around such great talent.
Oh,
I can't.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm sure they felt the same about being around you.
Yeah.
You're being very humble, but your talent shone very, very bright on stage. So
we all have a good time.
Yeah, I mean, and not only that, I mean, there was so much like undiscovered talent, like Dee Dee Magno, who is an amazing vocalist, and also Lauryn Hill, obviously. And so that must have been like,
oh, good old Whoopi. I mean, come on.
Yeah, she's no slouch either.
Yeah. And, I think that at that time, it was a great time for music, with the music industry. And it's a great time for icons, like Madonna, Michael Jackson, Janet Jackson, George Michael. They were all it was a great time for pop music.
Yeah.
So to work on, that music video at the time definitely was a highlight for me. Definitely a highlight. But and you got to also remember, she was just about to do Evita.
Yeah.
And she was just about to have her first child.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think she was looking to have Lourdes. Mm-hmm. And I think that this really affected, how the path of her career was going to go and what she really was passionate about. And so I was so excited for her, to move in this direction and to take on this incredible role of Evita, which she actually ended up winning Golden Globe for.
Yeah. Were you able to see her on tour after Human Nature? After you danced with her with Human Nature,
yeah.
Did you see her again after that ever?
Yeah, I did. Actually, she had come to see the Broadway show that I was in.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, The Life. And the reason why she had come was because Marty Richards, one of the producers of The Life, was looking to produce Chicago.
That's right.
Which she was rumored to be part of.
Right, which she was up for one of the roles. And also, they were kind of toying around with doing a movie version of The Life.
Oh.
And so there could have been a possible role that, Marty was thinking about for her as well. So that was one of the other times after post Girly Show, post Human Nature, that I saw her. And then I would see her randomly here or there, in Paris, or
you're both reaching for the same. You're both reaching for the same Balenciaga hat, right? And oh, Madonna, what are you doing here?
Yeah. So it's always great to see her.
Well, have you seen her on tour though? Have you gone and seen any of her stage shows?
I actually went to go see Madame X
at the Wiltern.
No, I actually saw it at BAM.
Oh, wow.
Oh, nice. Oh,
I thought that was you.
Yeah.
We were. Yeah, I was gonna say we were so close. Who knows?
I was hat down,
incognito, to avoid that Rio shenanigans. You didn't want a repeat of Rio, so
that was actually, I really enjoyed that show.
Yeah.
Madame X at Brooklyn Academy of Music. I think that was something that I think that she's wanted to do for a long time.
Yeah.
And I was so proud of her to hear that she got BAM to do the launch of her Madame X tour.
Yeah.
I thought it was incredible.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Incredible. Yeah.
Did you have to stay up just as late as the rest of us?
Yes. We're all Madonna people, all about the after hours.
Oh yeah.
True.
MG, so I wanted to ask you earlier about your dance training, but apparently I'm going to have to ask you about your extensive martial arts practice because that's what informed your dancing. And also tell us a little bit about your ongoing work with the Bruce Lee Foundation.
Well, like I said earlier, probably the first thing that I ever studied was the martial arts. And I started out studying Tibetan White Crane and Tiger Claw. And then I moved into Wing Chun and Choi Lei Fut, which is all martial art styles. And studied a little bit of Wushu. And that took up probably 14 to 16 years of my life.
Wow. That's a discipline.
Yeah. And so I think all of those foundations of what the martial arts gives me, I'm able to apply to all different forms of my life. And also, gives me some tools to kind of take on that challenge of how can I make this Madonna style my style.
Right.
It was one of the biggest challenges I could think of, but I spent a lot of time just studying the martial arts, and I think that performing has always been one of my all-time favorite loves. Is performing, whether it's movement, martial arts, singing, whatever. I think I've always loved to perform.
Yeah.
So I think that I had nothing but a lot of ego boosting and self-confidence awareness training through the martial arts. And so I really owe the martial arts everything.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying because I grew up studying Taekwondo, and humility is the first thing you're taught. It's like, if you don't know this, you can't fight.
Yeah.
And it's hard to understand at first. And then once you're training, you're like, oh, it's not about me.
And and the funny thing, I think right now, I think that the martial arts is more important than ever right now in today's society, and the issues that we're dealing with, whether it's Asian hate crimes, whether it's Black Lives Matter. I think the philosophies and the concepts of what the martial arts represent are more important than ever today. And I even think the applications of self-defense are needed more than ever right now to empower people to be able to have the confidence to fight back. I think that people, need to have that type of knowledge from the martial arts, the skills, the confidence to just defend yourself and just really take on some of these issues with confidence.
And also I'd like to add that it's a very meditative practice. So it's all about being in the moment. And that's something that is very important right now. Everyone's talking about meditation and, take time for yourself. So, this is another way to do it. But
goodness knows we all need to meditate during this pandemic time. It's like, breathe it out, people. Just calm down.
But MG, I became very familiar with your martial arts expertise when I watched you on Oz go head to head with pretty much everybody in the prison yard. Tell us what it was like to be on Oz and how what it's like to be on an iconic series. I'm sure people come up to you and talk to you about it.
Well, Oz has a funny story kind of related to the Madonna story as well.
All right, let's hear it.
Anytime. Okay, so I was going to say, pull up a chair, people. I'm ready for this. Oz and Madonna, two of the things I never thought we'd talk about here on the podcast.
Well, Drowned World Tour, they reached out to see if I wanted to do that. And it was a choice between me doing that or Oz.
Wow.
That's a tough roll of the die, let me tell you. I don't know how
Looking back, I think I could have pulled off both.
You could have said, look, HBO, you're going to air the show eventually, and I work.
Look, I'm part of the HBO family.
Exactly. Yeah.
So let's work it out. Let's work it out. But Oz.
That's a good tour you turned down, by the way. FYI, Drown World Tour that's a good tour.
Yeah, that was a good tour. That really got to me. that I should have. That's where I should have rethought it, and I could have did both. I really could have did both, I think. But
I mean, they were wearing kilts. Come on, it was a punk theme in that show. I mean, you would have been perfect.
I started the trend.
You totally did.
Well, the funny thing is, going back to Fever, right? I don't know if you know, there's a modern contemporary dance company called Complexions in New York City, headed by Desmond Richardson, who is probably one of the most prominent modern contemporary dance performers in New York City.
Yeah, I know the name, but I didn't know he had a dance company.
I feel like I've seen that on the marquee at the Joyce.
Yeah. Or at Lincoln Center.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah, something like that. So after one of the performances of The Life on Broadway, Desmond had come to see the show, and he waits to meet me afterwards. I'd never met Desmond before. And he said, I had to meet you. I heard you were performing here. I had to meet you. I said, oh, really? I said, it's nice to meet you. And he said, I had to meet the person that took my place on the Girly Show Tour.
Oh, my God.
Apparently, somewhere along the line in the story of who she was picking to do Fever, or something like, that role, apparently, I guess Desmond was in the running at some point. And then all of a sudden, he wasn't in the running.
Well, you know what? Desmond probably didn't show up wearing a kilt.
But I had not heard that story or knew that story until Desmond. Now, and I really had a lot of respect for Desmond, his talent, and just one of the most talented performers I've ever met. Right. So how this is a roundabout way to Oz is that Oz, originally I was reading for a role that was for someone else. They had already envisioned someone else to do that part. So the actual role that you see that I'm doing on Oz is not the original role that I read for, but was a role that they created for me after they had done their testing and
that's
casting.
awesome.
Fun.
Yeah. So that ended up really working out and being such an important time in my life as far as an actor. I still speak to Tom Fontana and Barry Levinson to this day.
Oh, that's awesome. And you're in good company, because a lot of amazing actors, recognizable names, have been killed on Oz, and
it was the show to be killed off of.
Yeah. Well, I think I'd love to give Oz its props, because number one, at the time, HBO was the only pay-per-view cable channel running alternate content on TV,
including Madonna concerts.
Including Madonna concerts, right? And they took a chance on this prison drama that was showing full-on nudity and using language that kind of predated and set the tables for how content is now being run on any channel on TV. Yeah. So in so many ways, Oz, as far as content, pushed the envelope, but it also pushed the envelope on the production side of things, because it was probably one of the first shows that was writing storylines for characters that all of a sudden got killed off. And all of a sudden you didn't know where the storylines were, but it fell into the budget of things of doing cable TV. But the great thing about Oz was I was surrounded by so much talent on that show as far as an actor is concerned. And I would be on set on days that I wasn't there, just so I can watch those actors.
You like soaking up that artistic creativity around you. Girly Show, you're going through those doors. Oz, you're just showing up.
Yeah, it was, every week there was always a new group of actors, maybe a new group of directors. Just the whole format and concept and the approach artistically and on a production side was so great.
Yeah.
I think that there's some of the most talented actors in all of New York City.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the Oscars and if you look at the Golden Globes, consistently over time, most of those nominees are all New York actors.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm very, very proud to be somewhere in that circle and scope of things. And I was very lucky to be part of Oz, which ironically, I didn't even know what Oz was all about when I first read about it. And the funny thing is, and I'll go back to Madonna, is that when I first met Madonna, I didn't even really know about her music.
You're not alone. We have interviewed many a Madonna dancer, and a lot of them are like, I mean, I was kind of aware of who she was, but I didn't really know her music.
I had no idea. I was listening to like ska music at the time, like, you know,
like Fishbone and
like not even anything close to like mainstream pop music, right? And so I remember when I had met her and she started telling me the ideas, and she said, I'm a singer, I'm right. She said, you haven't heard any of my music? I said, no.
You don't know Vogue?
Yeah, I said no. And then the very next day, she sent me a box of all of her CDs. So I was like, you know, listen to it. Tell me what you think.
No pressure.
Literally,
no pressure.
Yeah. But I listened to everything, right? Because I had a feeling that she was going to ask me.
Yeah.
And we went to dinner. She said, did you listen to my CDs? And I said, of course I did. I said, yeah, I think you're a great writer.
Ooh, you're good.
Well, you got top marks for saying that, I'm sure.
I said, I think you're a great writer. And she said, well, what was your favorite song? And I said, I think my favorite song from you that I heard was Love Don't Live Here Anymore, which was a remake.
Yeah, she's like, I didn't write that.
Yeah, that's not mine.
Which was a Rose Royce song.
Right.
And she said, well, why do you like that song? I said, I thought that really was you were being who you are. Like a lot of those lyrics are really personal to you.
Yeah.
And I think that this song really represents you. And so, I mean, there are other songs, of course, that I love from her, like Live to Tell and Beautiful Stranger, Love Don't Live Here Anymore. You know, I think a lot of these are great songs that I think people really kind of underestimate what a great catalog of songs Madonna has.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, like what a great catalog. But yeah, so Oz is just one of those things that ended up being a recurring role.
Yep.
You know, for 2 to 3 seasons.
Until they killed you, of course.
Oh, I was going to say, don't spoil it for me because I haven't watched it. So
no, it's okay.
I assumed that he did because I think even Chris Maloney gets killed off on Oz, right? I mean, I think everyone got killed off on Oz.
I think if you're an important character, they do you in.
I would think if it was like a rite of passage, you know, like if I was going to go on Oz, I'd be like, I better have a good death.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I was actually didn't realize that I was actually getting into the pod of Adebisi. And if you know anything about the show, Adebisi used to be one of the most popular characters on the show and also one of the most feared characters on the show. So I was walking into his pod, right? He was just about leaving the show and my character was just arriving. So there was this kind of like this void, this artistic void of who's going to step into those shoes.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of where the life of Jock Kenman kind of took over. And, you know, and he had a great run.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was absolutely correct to give props to Oz because I feel like it's a little bit under the radar to like, you know, the major, you know, audience, because what happened is that The Sopranos started after that and kind of stole its thunder. But you know what? it wouldn't have existed without Oz. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I think that kind of set the table for tone.
Yeah.
For the HBO identity, which that's why a lot of actors actually do work for HBO. Because they're not maybe getting a lot on the salary side, maybe, but I think that on the content side and the artistic side, they're getting good content, great writing, and a demand for those top-notch projects.
Yeah. So MG, tell us what you're working on right now. What's going on right now and in the future? What can we look forward to?
Well, fingers crossed. I actually kind of have been going back and forth with Tom Fontana about possibly doing some kind of storyline related to the recent Asiatic hate crimes on his new show, Top of the Hill, Class on the Hill. I think the Matt Damon, Ben Affleck produced TV series with Kevin Bacon. So we're kind of throwing around story ideas for maybe possible season 3 if they get renewed.
I mean, that would be great.
They're not sure which way the storylines are going to go as of yet, but fingers crossed.
Yeah, absolutely.
That, I spark some kind of idea for a possible couple episodes. Because a lot of what I had suggested was kind of built around reformative justice and how to apply reformative justice in scenarios like this, where you deal with the culprit and the victim, and how that reformative process is better for creating empathy and a better society, and and things like that. So I'm hoping that this could spark an interesting storyline.
Yeah, no, this is a conversation that people need to just stop not talking about it. It's like, bring it up. It's uncomfortable, but we have to talk about it.
Yeah, and I think that having the platform of television serves those purposes sometimes, and so I thought that maybe if Tom would be open to doing something like that would be great.
Yeah.
A couple of other things I'm working on. I still work with some public and private China companies based in China that we're looking to produce in Hollywood with Hollywood partners. So I'm really looking to build a bridge to really highlight Asiatic talent, emerging creatives, whether they're actors or filmmakers that are from China, and bringing their work to the international market and showcasing their work in other markets, and building that bridge to Asiatic talent that I think that is so important for people to see people from China outside of all of the propaganda and the media. That is portraying them.
Change the narrative.
Yeah. And I think that whether it's, the Chinese from China or the American Chinese from here, I think we have to kind of change those narratives and change the messaging a bit. So that way, our efforts can move the needle instead of being a hashtag.
Exactly. Make it something tangible. Make it something realistic to people, other than just something that they hear about.
Yeah. So a lot of my efforts are kind of driven by that, by really bringing diversity to the table and bringing Asiatic talent to the table. So we're really I'm really trying to look forward to doing that and building this small kind of Fu Entertainment media company. We had a project that was in the Cannes Short Film Festival.
Oh, nice.
A couple years ago, and a script that we wrote won an award for Best TV Pilot Comedy. So, we try to go to Cannes, every year, but, because of the pandemic, it's still up in the air. If
they're having the festival, but they're not doing it in person.
Did they confirm that?
I think they did, yeah. I do awards for an advertising agency here in New York, and I don't believe they are having the festival.
So
I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed on that one.
Yeah,
they're French.
True.
Exactly.
They're French. They do what they want.
I think they just lifted, but some like pandemic lockdown stuff. But I'm pretty sure they are not doing Cannes in person.
Well, here's hoping the market will still happen, because that's what,
exactly.
If the market is still happen, there's a good possibility that I would love to go. But right now I'm really kind of trying to get these projects together. I'm also in school, actually.
Oh, really? What are you taking?
I'm in grad school for international relations.
Amazing.
Oh,
nice.
Yeah. I'm sure you're a master at that already. I mean, you've been very international your whole life. So.
Yeah. I love my passport.
Oh, I bet.
I can't wait to use mine again. It's been so long since we've been allowed to go anywhere.
Yeah, well, that would be great.
Stefan, I think it's time for my favorite part of the podcast.
I think it is too. Okay, so before we let you go, enjoy your day in Hong Kong. We are going to do a little lightning round, which is something off the top of your head, wherever you're at in your Madonna journey. I think you've already answered a couple of these, but just to double check, favorite Madonna song ever?
I'll say Live to Tell.
Ooh, good one.
Favorite Madonna video other than the one you were in?
Take a Bow.
Ooh.
Okay. Favorite Madonna tour? And yes, it can be one that you were in.
I'll say the Girly Show.
It's the best.
But I'll say the Girly Show. It's
favorite Madonna tour you weren't in?
That's tough. I would probably either say Blonde Ambition or Madame X.
Yeah. Favorite Madonna look, and it can be from a photo shoot, a video, a tour,
real life.
Yeah, real life.
Probably the Human Nature. One thing I do want to share with you before we close.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Is a letter.
Oh.
That Madonna wrote to all of this when we ended the Girly Show. And I think this is so indicative of what an incredible woman she is. She says to us, "Ladies and gentlemen, bad dogs and she-devils, words and paychecks cannot express the gratitude I have in my heart for all of you. You worked your asses off for me, gave me your hearts and souls 100%. If I had an extra week and any energy left, I'd spend it kissing each and every one of your bad asses. I'll never forget this time in my life. I'll always look back and be proud. Thank you for helping make my dreams come true. All my love, Madonna."
Oh, that's so beautiful.
MG, thank you for sharing that with us. That's so generous
wonderful.
of you.
Yeah, it was a really great moment. She gave us that letter and gave us each a book.
What book? The same book or different book for everybody?
Different book for everybody.
Yeah. Oh. What book did you get?
I got a book called Geek Love.
Oh, I remember that book by
Geek.
Stax
very.
It's about the carnival freaks. Yes, I remember that. Yeah. It was a really good.
When I was reading that, I was thinking to myself, But the one thing I do want to say, because we go back to what you said, did I see Madonna after later? I mentioned I went to her house for her birthday in Miami, right? At the end of the tour, I had given her a sketch of something that I sketched. It was a scene from, I think, Winnie the Pooh. And they were looking off into the distance. And in that, I wrote, "I am man, I am woman, I am me, I am God, I am one." Right? And I gave that to her at the end of the tour. Fast forward, months later, Miami, I'm walking around the house. Nikki and I are just trying to find a way to just, sit somewhere. And we go up to her tower office. And on the shelf, she has all these important photos. Her with Muhammad Ali, her with Evander Holyfield, her with Freddie DeMann, her with Guy Osiri. And right next to that is the sketch that I made for her.
Nice.
And in the frame that I gave to her. And she had that sitting up there like that. And I was just blown away.
Oh, wow.
I see. If it had been a time when we had mobile phones, you would have taken a picture of yourself.
Wow.
No, it's a very personal moment, you know. It's full circle. Full circle.
Yeah. I can't tell you the great moments I've had with her.
That's amazing.
Thank you for sharing so many of those with us. It's been such a pleasure to talk to you.
No, thank you.
You've cleared up so many things, and you've taken us around the world.
Yeah. And if you ever make it to New York, please let us know next time, so you're not incognito at the Madame X tour sitting next to us.
We won't tell anyone you're here.
The next Madonna concert we'll go together.
Totally. I know. Awesome. I'm like everyone we speak to, I'm always like, next time you're in town, we have to hang out.
Yeah.
Now that we're all vaxxed up, it's fun. It's safe. We can do it.
Yeah, that'll be great. I look forward to it.
Awesome.
I really appreciate it, guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, MG.
I appreciate it.
And thanks to you guys, to our listeners. We love doing these for you, and we can't wait for you guys to hear our next episode. So you can follow us on Instagram at MLVC Podcast. You can go to our landing page at mlvcpodcast.com. Also on Twitter at MLVC Podcast. And you can hear us wherever podcasts are heard. And don't forget to like and subscribe and to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts.
And MG, where can we find you if people want to follow your life and story?
You can find us on Instagram, #Foo Entertainment.
Awesome.
There we go. We are looking forward to seeing what you're up to after this.
Absolutely, everyone. Thanks again, and we'll see you guys next time, okay?
See ya. Bye.
See you later.